And here we go. If you can't hear me or somebody, if I'm missing something, please put up a hand and let me know. But we do have a full agenda today. Thank you all for joining us to go over some of the updates for the motion composite order forms. The reason why we're doing that today is because Motion Composites has been extended on our contract for 2 more years. So Brandon and his team have graciously been working with us on this project to make sure all of our options are up to date. And I've been throwing a lot of changes at him and say, oh, I want this to be a justification. I want this. So he's been really awesome, accommodating my craziness sometimes and working with me to get this presentation done. So that's my thanks to you and the company. So we are extending the move, the category 2C, and the 4 categories of motion composites, which are your A6, your Apex, and your C2 kits. I'm also going to let Brandon do some accessory review so that we all know what is the no charge, the justification, and the option to purchase for your clients on their chairs. And later on, I'm going to introduce a topic. It's called changes to the category names. You may love me or hate me, but let's rock through this journey together. Hopefully, we'll have some fun and have some learning time here. All right. So we're going to open up with the updated order forms for motion composite chairs. So on the website, our communications person has updated us with the move forms. That's now the 6.3. I circled that on there, 6.3 version. So if you want to follow along, open up the move order form or the A6 order form. We're going to go through the options together. I do have some important notes that I want our clinicians, prescribers to really take a careful look at. Just some changes that will make it easier for me when I'm ordering your chairs and for the configuration of the chair. One thing is that these order forms that we're going to go through actually will go to the manufacturer, so they get to see this. So please don't put down any FIA information. Some people are really eager. They put the client's name, their phone number, all that stuff, and that actually I have to redact it. It takes me like 5 minutes per form to take off all those information. So it really will help me if you just put the client's first name and the first letter of their last name on their form, and you're going to attach it all together with the application form. If you're going to put reasons or justification for your order form or for those accessories, put it on your application form. Those application forms live with us and we put it on the client's database so you can write as much as you want. But the order forms or the spec sheets, they go to the manufacturers. We have made them fillable online, so you can fill it out, but make sure you remember to save it. And then you're going to fax it in with your application forms. If you want to fax in, or sorry, if you want to email in the application or the order form separately, we could probably do that. It's just a little bit of a different email. So we can talk about that later on, how we can facilitate having you email your order forms directly. So again, ensure that you're using the correct version. We have 6.3. I think it was 5.1 before. So they've made a lot of changes to their accessories and options. So this is why hopefully starting next month, if everybody can start using these new version, that would help our intake team and myself when we're ordering and everybody's on the right price code. So the new codes we've added on the form should be not new to everybody, but it is going to be more spelled out. So NC, you're going to see is no charge or what we fund through the program. The J's are all your justification items. So those are usually upgraded costs. They add costs to the chair. So we need a medical or a functional reason for why this client is needing those upgraded options. Comfort and pain might not always be a great justification, so I might need to have you provide more details for that. OTP, we all are learning and are more familiar with, that's option to purchase. And NA is just not available through our program. You might be able to do it through a vendor, but we just don't do it. Okay. So far we have 54 people. We're all together. We're learning together. Okay. So the next portion here, we're going to go through the order forms and we're going to highlight, actually Brandon's going to highlight what is different on maybe the Move versus the A6 and the Apex. And I'm just going to chime in whenever, just to interrupt him for fun, whenever I see something that I think we need to highlight. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Brandon. Brandon, let me know if you want to share your own screen or if you just want me to go through it yourself or go through it with you.
I can't control the PowerPoint right now. You gotta do it, right? Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. I can stop sharing and you can share this portion. Then you can.
Yeah, maybe let's do that because then I'll have control, which sounds awful, but it will work for me.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
1 second here. All right, let's share. Can you guys see that okay? Okay, awesome. Okay, so a quick introduction here to myself and to your guys' rep for Manitoba, Jen. So I'm Brandon Strapp. I work with a company called MedSupply. So MedSupply, we're essentially a rep agency. We represent a variety of different product lines here in Western Canada. Motion composites being one of them, but we do have 6 other product lines that fall underneath us. So we're just on the ground sales, support, education, all of those things for each of our manufacturers. So I was the territory manager for Manitoba up until about 4 or 5 years ago. And your current rep for the territory, I think a lot of you guys know, is Jen Burt. So Jen comes to us. She's an OT, registered OT in Manitoba. She's our director of clinical support for the entire company, but she also is the territory manager for Manitoba specifically. So any questions that you guys might have with regards to product, in-services, education, anything like that, Jen's a good resource to reach out to for that. She's based in Winnipeg, and I put her email address here at the bottom so that you guys had contact info.
Brandon, your screen has gone black. I don't know if that's what you're expecting right now.
Oh, no, it should be. Let's try. How about now?
Oh, you have to reshare it.
Okay, let's try this again. If I remember correctly, Cherry, this happened to us last time too.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we can see it, but you might not be
What about
able to play it. I think the play is a weird function.
It is a weird function. Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
Are you guys okay if we just leave it with the slides showing on the side there?
Yep.
Okay, when I hit next, does it go to the next slide?
Yep.
Okay, okay. We'll just leave it like
There
this.
is also a pop-out button at the top of everybody's Teams menu. It says pop out. You can pop out that PowerPoint if you want. And then you can see it a bigger screen. So that's just if people want to make that bigger.
Thanks. Okay, yeah, so Jen's information there is at the bottom of the screen. So if any of you don't have her contact info, definitely jot down her email address. It's pretty straightforward. It's just jen@medsupply.sales.com. And like I said, she's a good resource for y'all in Manitoba. She's based in Winnipeg, so she can help you guys out. So we're going to do a pretty comprehensive overview of each chair, what's kind of standard and what's considered an OTP or justification. So we're going to kind of go, when Cherry and I were putting this together, we did it kind of methodically. So if you're following along, definitely feel free to follow along, pull out an order form. We did this in order that the order form is. So if you're not following along, that's not a problem. We can send you a copy of these slides after the fact. And I think that Cherry had mentioned that this is all going to be recorded as well. So there'll be lots of resources available for you guys in order to be able to look back and refer to this. So let's start with the Move. So the basic specs on the Move. So you're 14 wide by 14 wide up to 22 inches wide, all in 1 inch increments. So 14 to 22, 1 inch increments. There is one caveat to that. there is no 21-inch wide on the move. So it jumps from 20 to 22. So you're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and then 22. Depths are done in 2-inch increments, so 16 to 20. We've got 8 inches of seat to floor height adjustability. I highlighted that in red, so 12.5 inches is your lowest front seat to floor height, and your highest front seat to floor height is 20.5. But the manual wheelchair program pays for, I believe it's a 5-inch casters as a justification, which gets you down to 13.5. So 12.5 is possible. But it is an OTP to get a 4-inch caster in order to achieve that. You get 6 1-inch vertical axle plate adjustments. So changing the position of your rear wheels up and down, you get 6 positions, all in 1-inch increments, and 2 1-inch horizontal adjustments with a maximum of 2 inches forward for your center of gravity on the chair. Standard weight capacity is 265, and heavy duty option is available for the move at 350. The A6, you're 14 to 22 in 1-inch increments, and we actually do have a 21-inch wide in the A6. And then 14 to 20 inches deep in 1-inch increments. So a big difference there in seat depths in that we have more seat depths. So we go down to 14 and we have 1-inch increments available on the seat depths for the A6. A little bit lower of a seat to floor height on the A6, so 12 to 20.5. And again, with limitations of the program, the minimum seat to floor height for the program is technically 13.5 seat to floor height. You get way more axle plate adjustability on the A6, which is kind of one of the benefits of moving up to this chair for those clients that are arm propellers, especially arm propellers. So you get 12 half-inch vertical axle plate adjustments on the A6 and 5 half-inch horizontal rear axle plate adjustments. So your maximum center of gravity you can achieve forward position is 2 3/4 of an inch. So that's 3/4 of an inch forward more than what you can achieve on the move. So it may not seem like a lot further forward, but the real benefit here on that A6 axle plate is you get more fine tuning. You're not stuck to just a couple of different vertical and in 1-inch axle plate adjustments, and same with the horizontal. You get half-inch increments instead of 1-inch increments. So you can really fine tune how that rear wheel is positioned on the chair. 265 standard weight cap and 350 for HD. The Apex, so something new to the Apex for those of you that prescribe chairs for kids or just small adults in general. We now go down to 10 inches wide on the seat width. So 10 to 20 in 1-inch increments and 10 to 20 on the depth in 1-inch increments. So we are now offering smaller sizes on the Apex. Your minimum seat to floor height on the Apex is 14 to 21. And again, with limitations on the casters that the program purchases, that makes the technical seat to floor height capable for the program 15.5. You get 4.5 inches of vertical adjustment on the rear axle when you order an Apex, and 6 inches of horizontal, so forward position, maximum 6 inches forward. We have a standard weight cap of 265, and with the Apex, there is no heavy duty option. So 265 is your maximum weight capacity on the Apex. And then the last chair is the Helio Kids, so 12 to 16 inches wide in 1-inch increments, 12 to 19 inches deep in 1-inch increments. And then just a caveat on the depth there. When you select the depth, you have the option of a depth adjustable back cane on that one. So you have the ability to have up to 3 inches of depth adjustability if you choose the depth adjustable back cane on that. So for kids especially, if you're ordering it and you know they're going to grow, that depth adjustable back cane definitely is helpful there. 13 inches is your minimum seat to floor height to a maximum of 21.5 inches. The program 14.5 is your minimum seat to floor height. Again, it's casters that reflect that minimum. And then a lot more center of gravity adjustment and axle plate adjustability on the Kids in general. So you got 20 positions in 1/4-inch increments on the vertical, and 13 positions in 1/2-inch increments on the horizontal axle plate. So again, a lot more adjustability for you to set up for arm propulsion or for center of gravity in general. The kids chair does have a standard weight capacity of 175, and there isn't an option to go to an HD. So 175 is your cap on the kids chair. Okay. So now that we have an overview of all of the chairs, we move into the actual spec sheet itself. So this is where if you're following along with an order form, this is a good opportunity to bust it out, because that's what we're going to start going through, kind of almost line item by line item, to just give you an idea of how to spec these things out. So on your first page, you're going to have your model selection. So this is where you're going to choose between your standard weight capacity or your heavy duty. So 265 or 350, you're going to have 2 options there. On most chairs, some you're only going to have 1 option. So like the kids chair as an example, it's only going to be 1 option, 175. Same with the Apex, 265 pounds, no HD option on it. Okay. Once you go and select what weight capacity you want, your next options are going to be in your seat widths and your seat depths. So for the Move, like we had said, you're going to start at 14 1-inch increments up to 20, and then a jump from 20 to 22. Just a reminder with seat width on all of our chairs, we do outside rail to outside rail. So instead of measuring it on the left picture there with the star, a lot of people will measure our seat widths based on the actual upholstery. But because our seat frame, or sorry, our seat rails sit inside of the seat frame instead of, the side frame instead of on top of the side frame, we actually measure from outside of the frame to outside of the frame to get a proper width measurement. So just a reminder there, if you're doing seat widths, that's how we calculate our measurement.
Brandon, I noticed on the Move chair, we actually just do the even number width.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be 14, 16, and 18, and 20 and 22. Just because of warehouse space and all that, we cannot accommodate extra sizes. There might be one-off or case by case that this width really is required. We can talk about it, but if your client needs a different width and there's other things that maybe would be needed, you might look at the A6 and justify that the A6 would be a better fit for your client than the Move. So Move is our basic bread and butter full-time chair user that we have to keep in stock. So as you can imagine, Jackie and I are talking about warehouse space. We just don't have enough of these to keep in our warehouse. So just for that reason, we had to choose 14, 16, 18. So again, if you have justification, you might want to look at A6 or talk to me about why an odd number size is going to be working for your client. Sorry.
No, that's a good point, Cherry. Maybe on some of the
I'm making notes.
Yeah, the update, because I think that I pulled this directly from our new order form, so we'll revise that. That's easy. So then when you move to the A6 and the kids, you're going to get more options there. So you're just selecting your seat width and seat depth. Same way your measurement is done on the Move as the A6, as the Apex. All of them is seat rail to seat rail. So it doesn't matter which one you select there. The measurement is calculated the same no matter on which model you're choosing. Okay,
so is it fair to say then that it's got a little bit of wiggle room because it doesn't fit as snug as other chairs? Because you still have the outside rail, right? If you've got maybe a 1/2 inch.
Yeah, I would say that you have, because the space between you'll have about a 1/2 inch, I would say, in total. Yeah. Maybe it's designed to be a snug fit, like a true fit.
True fit. Okay.
You might have a 1/2 inch of space technically between where the frame ends and where the armrests begin. So that's going to be your little bit of wiggle space in width, but it's not a ton. Okay. And we do that intentionally because there's a whole a piece of education on measuring seat widths. And so if people want a true 17, you're gonna get pretty close to a true 17. You try not to make it too much wiggle room.
Yeah, that's a question that I get all the time. Is it a snug fit or is it just you got some wiggle room? So that's good to know. Thank you.
If you're ordering T-style arms or flip back arms, it's a snug fit. So keep that in mind. There's obviously going to be wiggle room if you order tubular arms, but I don't believe the program pays for that, so it's not applicable for here. Seat depth, same thing. So you're going to have different options depending on the chair that you choose, whether it's in 2-inch increments, 1-inch increments. The key to this one here is that the measurement is taken from the front of the back post, so the back cane, so the front of it, closest to where the seat upholstery is, and measured to the end of the seat upholstery or to the end of the seat rail if you don't have seat upholstery on there. That's how we calculate our seat depth. So again, that is a question that might come up as far as how snug that fit actually is. It's a true fit. So where the client would actually sit is where the measurements are actually taken from. There's not a little bit of space between the seat rail and the back cane that you have wiggle room of. Jerry, I think you were going to speak on transit tie downs here.
Yes. Okay. So this is one of the big changes that we're introducing, and there's a couple reasons for this. So if you'll notice that transit tie downs, there's now 4 options. I noticed, Brandon, we removed the little footnote of 1 and 2. So I know that AC04 transit tie down unoccupied is for your HD clients. So they don't have WC19 rated transit tie downs for the heavy duty chairs. So that's for A6 and Move. So that is what you're going to have to choose if you're doing a heavy duty chair. There are now 3 other options, which are, you're going to notice on the far side is going to be a J. So if you want to go to the next slide for me. So the reason for that is because I've been consulting with our Transit Plus colleagues and doing some research. So I have some information here on the links here on the transit safety standards, WC19 wheelchair safety. Also, you can email our colleagues Transit Plus OT. So we've had a lot of conversations and research that to have a WC19 rated chair with a WC19 belt is actually not a standard for our province. Our province requires 4 points of tie downs to be on a vehicle. If you want WC18 rating, that's where the WC19 lap belt comes into play. So the WC18 rating refers to the crash testing of occupant restraint system. So that's in the vehicle. So it has to match with your WC19 rated chair. However, we're paying extra for WC19 belts when our vehicles do not have WC18 ratings. So we are, as a program, actually losing a lot of money, and people take off the WC19 lap belts. They cut them. They think that it's going to be easy to replace. It's actually a lot of money for us per chair. So we are making a little bit of change. Also, WC20, I just wanted to refer back to here, is that it's a voluntary standard rating for seating components. So if you want a fully WC19 or WC, which is wheelchair crash tested, you need your vehicle occupant restraint system crash tested, you need your wheelchair crash tested, and you need your seating system crash tested. So not every province has standards that way. Our province standards is that all the chairs need to have 4 points of tie downs. So this is a way for us to maybe recoup some costs. Hence the options. If you could go back to that other slide, Brandon. So your new norm that when you're looking at it is going to be AC15 WC19 transit tie downs without belt. And then you're going to choose on the very last page, you're going to choose an auto buckle, which is going to be a standard or length is 35 or standard long 60. So that's going to be our new standard. Obviously, I know there are different regions in our province. Some of them really want the WC19 belt. That's how their transit system operates. I know I've heard this from some of the pediatric OTs that they need these WC19 rated belts for their buses. So if that's your case, you can go ahead and justify and make sure that that's the reason why you're noting it, is that your region requires a WC19 belt. And that's still fine, we will pay for that. But to reiterate that it's not a standard in our province to have WC19 crash tested chair with a WC19 belt. So if you have any questions, definitely give me a shout on this one. But this is the main change that I'll be looking for when we're going through the order forms and you're submitting that. Sometimes you'll get WC19 belts already because our chairs already have them and we're a recycling program. So bonus to you, you'll get that belt. But for new chairs, this is going to be your new normal if you have a WC19 transit tie down with just a standard auto buckle. I will be changing those for you as well, unless you have a specific justification. Okay, I'm done.
Thanks, Jerry. Yeah, I think, and just in addition to that, just to remind people, I think you had mentioned about cutting off belts because they're not using them, or they need a longer belt, or something to that effect. Essentially, as soon as we make a change to a WC19 tie down, it actually has to, and where Jerry's talking about the cost, like they actually have to ship that back to Quebec where the chairs are made. And then we have to either install a new belt or put on the tie downs again, or whatever the changes need to be made to the WC19, and then it has to ship back. So there's the cost of shipping back and forth. There's the time that the chair is away from the client, and then there's just the sheer cost of making whatever changes that need to be done. The reason why it has to do that is because to be authorized to have our chairs sold and said that they have WC19 approval on them, we actually have to do the work ourselves, because we don't have the ability to like train, say, the Manitoba Possible techs and give them authorization to do it. It has to be done by the manufacturer. So there's a lot of time and cost that goes into making changes to WC19. So it is worth noting that just take the time to make sure you know what you need when you're selecting.
Sorry, I'm just reading some comments here on the thing. How about Handy Transit? So Transit Plus is now what they're called, and we have discussed this with them. They don't also recommend like a WC19 transit belt without the WC18 occupant restraint system. So that means they would rather see that the client, well, this is a mandatory, client has to use the vehicle supplied seat belt. So we're going to refer seat belt to actually the car seat, and all the other belts were called this lap belts. So they require the 4 points of tie downs. WC19 is a bonus rating that our motion composites have entered into, so that's fine, but they need the they need the seat belt on whatever system that the Transit Plus vehicle has. Jen says there's a notation after the tie down with no belt, if that is the default justification still required. Good point, Jen. I will make that as a standard. We're gonna change that notation to a standard. So this is great to run through all these order forms because we're finding little things that we're going to correct as well. Thank you.
There was over 350 line items that Cherry and I have gone through on the multiple order forms. So it's easy to make the mistake of not putting a no charge or a J on some. So if you guys notice anything else, yeah, let us know.
Yeah, that's a good catch. So again, on the application form, if it says WC Transit tie down without belt, that is now going to be our standard. So don't J it. We just created a verb. All right.
Any other questions?
Keep those questions coming, yeah, for sure. But just due to time, we might have to just answer that. We'll let you get going there.
Okay.
Brandon,
I can't see the question box, so
okay.
If there's questions that come up you want to answer, just interrupt me. Okay, so then after WC19, you get into your caster selection. And so I think this is a little bit of a change from the previous caster selection and how we did it on the chairs. To know which casters are OTP justification or standard / no charge for the program, it's now going to be on this page. Okay, so at the very top here, you're going to see it says 4-inch caster OTP, 5-inch caster J, 6-inch caster no charge. So this is just telling you that these sizes are the sizes that the program will pay for, or that you can justify to get paid for. And then there's going to be specific sizes, obviously, the 4 and the 7 that are going to be client responsibility if they want those sizes. So this chart will just tell you, here's my seat to floor height with stem bolt selection and fork selection on the side here. But does my client pay or does the program pay is going to be labeled at the very top here. And that's just a little bit different than how we had it on the previous order forms. So then when we actually look at what the order forms will reflect now, so you'll select your seat to floor height. I'll go toggle back here. You'll select your caster size, your fork size, so caster up here, fork size 4, 5, or 7-inch fork here. And then between those two, you'll use the chart to select your seat to floor height from there. Okay. Then on the next page or the next section, you'll actually have the caster option that you want to select. So for the program's purposes, the standard composite wheel, the 1-inch, is what they will pay for. A little caveat here. So this part here is showing available right here. That's just telling you that those are the caster sizes that are available for the composite with polyurethane 1-inch. That's not to say that the program pays for all of those sizes. You will know that by toggling back to the previous section and referring to the top here, whether the program pays for them or not. This is just telling you that these sizes exist with that style of caster, okay? And then every other caster style is an OTP, so option to purchase. So if they want pneumatic casters, or they're looking for the 1.5-inch, the ultra casters are soft rolls, then those are OTPs as well, whether you get them in the composite or aluminum. And then after that section, you're going to see a box that gives you just a little explanation of your fork and stem bolt combinations. So really what this is speaking to here is this section right here. Okay, so fork position on the side, P1, P2, P1, those are position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4. And then right here dictates your stem bolt. So when I actually look, you got a standard, a 1, and a 2. So when I actually look at the chart, this is going to be your fork size, so a 4-inch fork. These are your positions. So starting at the top is P1, this is P2, P3, P4. So that's going to dictate your seat to floor height. And so if you know, and the reason why we're showing you this, because if you know that you need to have some wiggle room, maybe you're not sure on the cushion size or the cushion thickness that's going on there, and you want a little bit of wiggle room, well, maybe select a caster size with a fork combination that gives you some wiggle room to move positions up or down depending on how much wiggle room you need. Okay, and then your stem bolt is standard or a +1 or a +2 here, right? So this entire chart really is reflected in a visual right here, which is on that order form. And then, sorry, just to mention on here as well. So this is for the Move, the A6, and the Kids. The Apex is obviously very different. It doesn't actually have a traditional caster journal and stem bolt like you see on our folding chairs. It is it's a little bit different, and it's actually dictated by the overall height of the front frame. So it gets cut depending on what you select as your front seat to floor height. So you don't have to decide any of this stuff when you select on the Apex, because you just choose your seat to floor height and we cut the frame to that height for you. Next section, we're on to leg rests, footrests. So on the Move, we've got 60s and 70s. I think the program only pays for 70s, which we're going to get to that slide here in a second. I think I saw Cherry shaking her head. But in general, the company offers 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, as well as high mounts and elevating leg rests. Obviously, per chair, it's going to dictate on the side here which ones are no charge and which ones are justification. But for a quick breakdown, you can essentially see that here for the Move selection, you've got 70s, which is the standard for the program. 60s are OTP. High mounts and elevating leg rests are available, but they're justifiable options. So write your justifications for those. When we look at the A6 and the Kids, that's where you get 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, which are only possible on the kids chair for the 90s. But the other angles are all available on the A6, and they are standard, so they are no charge for the program. So you have more options when you move up to an A6 from a Move when it comes to footrest angles. And then same with the Move, your high mounts and your elevating leg rests are justifiable options. then the Apex obviously is very different because it's got it's a one-piece frame, so you don't have a footrest hanger in a traditional sense. It's built into the frame, so you actually get a 70, 75, 80, 85, or 90-degree front frame angle. And for those of you that aren't familiar, we actually measure that frame or that angle from the ground, so it's not measured from the seat. Which is what a lot of people assume it is. It's actually measured from the ground. And the reason why we do that is because depending on the front seat to floor height versus the rear seat to floor height and the difference between the two, so how much seat slope you have in there, that angle can change. So it's easier to keep a constant if we just measure it off the ground versus off of the seat. And then just a quick plug here on residual limb supports. So we do offer them. They are all OTP options on the order forms. So your client does have the ability to pay out of pocket or maybe third party fund that. But they are options that are on the order form. So you can get a left, a right, you can get a flat pad or a contoured pad, and you can even choose your pad size depending on the client and the size of the residual limb.
Hey, Brandon, there was a question from Sarah. Do you know approximate cost for the swing away with the contour pad or flat pad? Or we can get back to her.
For the residual limb supports we're talking? Yep, it is 505 per side, 505 per side.
Thank you.
I saw that reaction. It's expensive. It is a nicer residual limb though. Like I know there's a cost to it, but when you compare it to like some of the amp boards that are out there and stuff, like it is a much cleaner, nicer option than exists for most chairs.
Some justification if you're asking for EIA would be maybe lighter weight. It doesn't get lost as often. I don't know. So think of really good justification for that if you're asking it from a different funder.
Good point. Yeah, and justification, I think, just in further to that, above and beyond, like an amp board is going to be things like it does swing away, right? So you do have the ability
for transfers.
For transfers, you can remove it. It's height adjustable, depth adjustable, angle adjustable. You don't normally get that with a traditional amp board. So there's a lot of reasons why you can justify this type over, say, a traditional amp board that exists out there. Moving on to foot plates. So the program at Standards, we offer a variety of different foot plates. So we've got your standard composite, no adjustability to it. We've got angle adjustable foot plates, which are available in aluminum. You can get them in composite material. You can even get them in carbon fiber. So we have a whole slew of options when it comes to foot plates. The program specifically funds the two that are circled here. So you can get the standard composite, or is it a J for the angle adjustable, Cherry?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it says right here, J. So it's justifiable to, or justification if you want to get an angle adjustable foot plate. So that angle adjustable foot plate is depth adjustable, it's angle adjustable. That's it, yeah, depth and angle. So those foot plates, as just a caveat, those ones are all available for the Move, the A6, and the Kids. The foot plate that's available for the Apex are obviously very different because they are fixed to the frame. They're not removable. So we have a whole slew of options here, from tubular open to tubular with an ABS or a plastic foot plate. We can do angle adjustable aluminum one piece. We can do an adjustable angle carbon fiber foot plate on there. The program itself, so you can see up here, pays for the tubular open. They'll pay for the tubular open, so these first two here with the plastic. You can justify the angle adjustable. You can also justify the flip back aluminum angle adjustable, and you can justify the high mount with angle adjustable foot plate on there. So, and I'll show you what those options look like here. So you've got the flip back option here. So you can see it looks a little bit different. It's inset from the frame versus the standard foot plate, which is just straight across. So obviously as a flip back, if they're doing a standing pivot transfer or they need to get up close to something, we cut in the frame there. So that is a big difference between the two. And then the high mount is pictured over here, obviously for lower leg lengths. Was there questions coming by there? I thought I saw something pop up.
Yeah, I think I just answered that one. Sarah was asking if they come with standard heel loop, and yes, those are no charge.
Good question. And then we move on to back canes. So the next section after footrests, we selected our footrests, our heel loops, our foot plates. Then we move on to back canes. So from here, so this one is reflective of the move. So the move has options for an 8-degree bend only. And then you select your height from there. So 16, 18, or 20. Those are all no charge options with the program. So depending on how much back support you need, whether they're propelling with their arms or not, you might select a lower one or a higher one, just depending on the need there. But all of those are available. The only one that's an option to purchase here is your 21 to 24 inch height range. And then angle adjustable, so that those options were fixed. If we're looking for angle adjustable back canes, that's a justifiable option or justification option. And we do have them available in a 16 and in a 20 inch height for the move. I believe we did, yeah, on the A6 and the kids, you start getting straight options versus 8-degree bends. You have different height ranges on these ones here as well. And then you have options where, with regards to, if you read the, I don't know if you can really see that on your guys' screen, but it'll detail it up here. So this one will say fixed angle back cane, so fixed angle, with integrated push handle. So that means it's going to have a push handle integrated into the system. If we do fixed angle height adjustable back canes with push handle options, well, then that means that I now have to select, it tells you right here, please select one push handle option. I have to select from a variety of the push handle options, which they're going to look like this, like flip downs, clamp on. None of those are paid for by the program. The program only pays for the integrated push handles, with the exception of the kids chair. You can get the stroller handle on that particular chair. Okay, is stroller handle justifiable? I can't remember, Cherry. It's a J.
I think so. Yeah.
So the move is very simple. Going back to the differences between them, the move is very simple in its options. It's integrated push handles only, and you either choose angle adjustable or fixed back, and then you choose your height, and that's it. When we move to the A6 and the kids, you get a lot more options there. And so we've detailed on the side here which ones are no charge, which ones are J's, and which ones are OTPs in general. But a lot more options, a lot more height ranges in here when we move to the A6 and the kids chair. A very different set. So that's for the A6, the kids. If you're looking at the Apex, it's a little bit different. So your first selection when you look at back canes for the Apex is going to be, do I want a locking backrests or non-locking? So that just means that, do I want, when it's in its upright position, because they're all fold down backs, do I want it to be locked in the upright position, or do I not want that locking mechanism? I've not met many people that have selected the non-locking option. The locking option is usually a pretty big standard for us. I think 99% of the chairs that we see being sent in for orders have that first locking backrest option. From there, all backs with the Apex have standard angle adjustability built into them. Okay, so you're selecting your angle adjustment here. And what you want that, sorry, no, this is fixed height, angle adjustable fold down. Yeah, this is the height option that you have here. If you want a fixed height, and then your next option down here is if you want a range of height options. Okay, so you can choose 9 to 12, 12 to 15, 15 to 18, or 18 to 20. So you either want a range of options, and you can see below here when you select the range that you will specify what height you want it at, or you do a fixed height without push handles on this one. So that's the big caveat here, is you're not going to get the push handles on there, and it's fixed. So there's no height range. You get one selection and one selection only. Okay. And then from there, because it's come standard with an angle adjustable back cane, you choose your angle adjustment or where you want that angle positioned at here. So we can go open, up to 8 degrees, or sorry, closed up to 8 degrees and opened up to 13 degrees. I kind of touched on this one already, but once you start selecting, so we'll go back to this real quickly here. When you're reading these on the Apex as an example, you know, your height and angle adjustable fold down backrest with push handle options, and it'll tell you you've got to select an option here versus integrated, or this one up here doesn't have push handles altogether. But on these ones, it'll tell you that it's either integrated, like it specifies up here, or with push handle options, and you must select the options. That's what we're talking about. These section here where you're going to choose, do I want flip down? Do I want clamp on? You know, do I want a stabilizing bar for a push handle? I get my options selection here for those areas that specify you must select one push handle option. Okay.
We just had a question from Sarah. I guess if a pizza-sized chair is for an adult, can you still get a handle not charged, or does it have to be an under 18 client? So most of our clients that are children are dependent on a caregiver, so it is kind of their more for a caregiver to be able to push a client in various environments that the child is not, you know, indicated to be independent. But criteria for the Move and the A6 and the Apex, these chairs are going to be for clients who are independent propellers. So ideally, these should not be needed. So it is a case by case. If you have a really compelling case, give me a shout and maybe we can chat. All right.
Naturally, after back cane selection, you're going to have your upholstery selection. So the program only covers the slip-on nylon back upholstery, so your standard back upholstery on there. There's an OTP option to get an adjustable tension, or you could omit the back upholstery altogether. If you're putting a solid backrest, which obviously isn't provided by the program, but you can omit it altogether. And then from there, we move to the wheel selection section. So the first option that you're going to see there is going to be your one-arm drive. Cherry, remind me, does the program pay for one-arm drive? It's a J.
It's a justification. I know there was back and forth with different contracts. So if you have a client that meets that criteria, then that is a justification. My only thing is really try what you need if it's either going to be the Move chair or the A6 chair. So you probably need the adjustability that an A6 chair will be giving you. So the Move chair might not be your option for a one-arm drive. But again, that's something I would recommend that people trial. We do have a couple of these in the assessment area. So before you recommend it, I would say try it and then kind of figure out which base you're gonna need it for your client.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, without like the Move has limitations on center of gravity adjustment, and because it's already hard to propel a one-arm drive chair, having that center of gravity or more adjustability like you get on the A6 is arguably there's not very many times where I haven't seen where a more adjustable axle plate turns into a client or turns into a better outcome for a client that wants to one-arm propel these things with a one-arm drive, just because of how we can distribute that weight and make it easier on them. So I agree with you. It's probably an A6 option mostly, but try it in the Move. Sometimes that can work for some clients. I would just say that most of the time we see them going with more adjustable chairs to make it easier on them. I think there was a question on no cost on adjustable tension back. It's $260 retail on the order form.
There's also questions, would we ship a one-arm drive chair to Brandon for trial? We do ship to facilities only, so healthcare facilities. So Brandon Hospital, if you are in that area, we would be shipping to that. We can't ship to every clinic and every client's home, obviously. If we have the size for you, you would, I'll go over the form of what you would need to do to get a trial request. I think everybody knows that one. But really, it's something that we would want you to try. So I would definitely want to ship something out to you. If I don't have it, maybe Jen might have something, or she can get her hands on a different size, right, Brandon?
Yeah, we've got the post that connects the drive wheel together to make it a one-arm drive in the middle here. We've got one of each size, so we've got a 16, an 18, and a 20 in Manitoba, and it's universal, so you can mount it on the left or the right for depending on which side they need to propel. So it's just a matter of determining, do you want a left or right, and what size you need, and we should have that size for both A6s and moves. It is removable. I just want to point out, though, we get a lot of questions on the one-arm drive. So it is a double hand rim on whatever the side is that you want them to propel on. So you get 2 hand rims on that side. One hand rim operates the right side, one hand rim operates the left side, and then when they hold them together and push it, that's what makes both sides engage. And it does that by this post that goes across here. So just a quick thing about the post is it is removable. We get a lot of people assuming that the chair doesn't fold because it's a one-arm drive, but it is a spring-loaded. So if you pull that post to the side a little bit, it's spring-loaded and it pops off so you can fold the chair. So
I found that out the hard way.
It's a little bit, it's like, especially if you get some gunk built up in there, which is natural with wheelchairs, it can be really challenging to get out. So don't give up on it. Just give it a good whack a few times and it should break loose and allow you to pull it off.
Courtney made a good note here that the one-arm drive is not available for the HD option. We just found this out too.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, not available on HD.
Sorry.
Any other questions before we keep going?
I think I'm trying to answer them as we go. Nope.
Okay. So once we move past one-arm drive options, we get into our standard wheel selection. All right. So you have a whole slew of options when it comes to rear wheels, and rear wheels, especially for arm propellers, are arguably one of the most important decisions to make for the client. I think most of you know, or if not all of you know, that spoke wheels perform better than mag wheels, but mag wheels have less maintenance than spoke wheels. And that's why the program offers the standard being the standard Newton 1 spoke on there. They're just a better performing wheel from a propulsion efficiency perspective. They'll always outperform a mag. There is a little bit more maintenance required to them, less than maybe previous years, 10, 15 years ago, like spokes required a lot of maintenance. Not so much anymore now. You can get good spokes, and we have good spokes on ours that don't loosen off as easily over time, but it is still suggested like once a year maintenance where they would just test the spokes to make sure that they're not losing tension, because the whole benefit is that they have enough tension in there to rigidize the rear wheel to eliminate flex in it, so that energy transfer that the client pushes into the wheel or gives into the wheel goes into distance traveled and not flex and movement in the wheelchair frame, but more importantly on this particular side on the rear wheels themselves. Okay. When we look at other rear wheel options, so when we move from, why would you chose this spoke over say a Newton Gravity Ultralight or say a Spinergy spokes or LX? Really what it boils down to is a couple of things. So it's going to be weight. As we move down the line, we get lighter and lighter weight. So if weight's a factor, that's going to be it. And then from there, it's how many spokes are actually on the rear wheel. So, an LX is a great example. You can see here, we got way less spokes on this wheel than we do on, say, a Newton 1 spoke. And that's for those clients that need to be able to put their hands underneath their chair for whatever reason. So if they need access underneath the chair, you're going to select a rear wheel that has less spokes on it so that they actually have an ability to put their hand through their rear wheels instead of around it when you have more spokes on this and you can't fit your hand through there type thing. So it's going to be a weight thing. It's also going to be access to underneath. Tire selection. So you have 2 tire selection options that are standard, no charge from the program. So we offer pneumatics, we offer soft urethanes, we offer everything from standard tread to your more knobby tread, high pressure tires. All of those are options and available to you. But for the program's purposes, your standard soft urethane 1 3/8 with standard tread is going to be your non-pneumatic option. And then if you wanted pneumatic, they've got a little bit better of a tread on there, but they are air-filled. So they perform better. Air-filled will always perform from a propulsion efficiency perspective better than a soft urethane. Or a non-pneumatic tire. So if it's all about performance, go pneumatic. And you get better shock absorption through pneumatic tires as well than you do on urethane. There's actually a really good study that came out maybe in 2019 that was just published that shows that even a pneumatic tire that is filled to 50% of its maximum tire pressure. So if it was half filled, whoever filled it got lazy and only filled it up halfway or lost air, a half filled pneumatic tire still performs from an efficiency perspective better than a soft urethane tire. So that just speaks to like the studies and how, you know, a pneumatic tire from a performance perspective really does do a better job. And then from there, you're really just selecting what type of tread you want. You know, more knobby treads are great for traction, you know, in mud and snow and those types of things. But just know that because they're knobby and there's more grooves there, they also collect a lot more of that stuff. So if they're going outside and muck and mud and all of that, yeah, they'll get the traction, but that stuff will stick inside those treads a lot easier. So, you know, there might be some cleaning that has to be done, or they might drag some of that stuff from the indoors or from the outdoors to the indoors.
So this is a big change, I would say, to some people. For the move chairs, we've opted out of the knobby tires. It is costing the program quite a lot of money. So the move chairs will get the soft urethane 1 3/8 inch. You can still have the option for pneumatics, but again, that's a maintenance thing that the client needs to know. And we have the pneumatic tire agreement that everybody who is asking for a pneumatic tire needs to have that sign to indicate that they've talked to their client about it. So it's really important change here is the soft urethane 1 3/8 is now going to be your standard tire for the move. You have the option for the pneumatic tire if you put the pneumatic tire agreement on. But when you go to the A6 and the Apex, and I don't know if this suits you kids, we are offering the knobbies because there's more tread as a justification. So I'm assuming that people with the A6 and the Apex are going to be a little bit more outdoory user. I don't know if that's a term, outdoorsy. So that option is still going to be available, but only on those higher ultralight chairs that we're calling them.
Moving on to hand rim selection. So we got lots of hand rims available for the chairs as well. So, you know, aluminum anodized, pretty standard. We've got your regular plastic coated hand rims. Actually, very fortunately for the program, years ago decided that they were going to do Newton air grips instead of your traditional plastic coated hand rims. They're only paying for the black ones, but they are a more superior plastic coated hand rim than your traditional one. They don't wear and tear nearly as easily or quickly as a traditional plastic coated. So if you're looking for hand rim options the programs pay for, your aluminum anodized is going to be standard. Your Newton air grip in black only is a justification option for you. We do have like your Surge LTs, your natural fits. We have a whole other section of hand rim options here that are all OTP, and they really speak to hand ergonomics, so how the hand sits on the hand rim. So for very specific clients, they might need a specific shape for proper ergonomics. Or grabbing of the hand rim. They might need a thumb piece or something to rest their thumb on. All those options are available. We can accommodate for a variety of different types of clients and how they need to position their hands on the hand rim. It's just those options are going to be your OTP options, okay? And then just a little thing there too, because I know that hand rims can be like, well, why and when and where would I select all of these? We have a really good online education section. It's a 30-minute webinar available on the Motion Composites website that just goes through hand rim selection and gives you an idea of like when and why and where you would select certain hand rims for specific types of clients.
And I know, Brandon, this is going to be coming up as questions, as how do we trial these? If we're offering them as option to purchase, we'd love to have a set for clinicians to borrow for their clients. So we are working on some of these accessories with Jen and Brandon to make a wish list of what we want in the clinic for trials so that, you know, you could actually have an option to try these with your clients before having them purchase them.
Yeah, I'm going to regret saying this because Jen's going to watch this recording later, but we made the mistake, not so mistake, of hiring a former clinician, Jen Burt, for representing our products in Manitoba. And so Jen came to us with a very long list of needs that, from a trial perspective, that she thought would be useful for the province. So we are definitely aware of like needing more access to samples of all of these different types of accessories, and Jen's done a really good job of advocating to our management team on what those needs are, and I think we'll see some movement on that in the next few months. So we'll
Sorry,
definitely
just another comment that Sarah just posted. There's a really good link that she found for maintaining the air tires. It's a digital pump, so I'll check that out for your clients. Thanks, Sarah.
of that. Next section after that is going to be pretty straightforward. It's going to be your axle options. So you're going to have your quick release option, which is pretty standard. You can do a permanent axle as well. So if you don't want your clients to be able to remove the axle, so it's not that it's permanent and that it can't be removed, it's just bolted on, so it requires tools to remove it. And then we also have an amputee adjustable axle option on there as well, which is what this one is here. It's an OTP item, but it just has a little loop there. So if the client doesn't have maybe the full dexterity in their hand to push and pull out, it'll allow them to loop their finger in there and pull on it, and that actually is what releases the rear wheel or releases the springs in the front of the axle here, so the rear wheel can be removed.
I think you said that's the amputee axle, but I think that's the quad release, isn't it?
Oh, it is a quad release. Yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's the quad release that's on the apex. And then the amputee adjustable axle is just to the right of that one.
Yeah,
I don't know
sorry.
if we've ever ordered any chairs with that amputee axle adjustment. We don't fund it, but it
it's
don't
really
know.
for those clients where like stability becomes the issue, right? So if you have front to rearward stability issues when you don't have the weight of limbs in the front, the chair can become backwards tippy pretty easily. So by having the amputee axle plate, it just positions the rear wheels behind the back cane, whereas they're normally in front of the back cane. So it just makes the overall wheelbase more stable because it's longer now. So it's really it's not exclusively for amputees, but it's commonly used for them.
So I'm just looking at our time. I think we're good. We have a couple more slides there. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got these 4 slides and then it's back to you. Wheel locks. So lots of wheel lock options on here. So we've got the push to locks as no charge. Those are the standards. You have to justify if you want the extension handle on there. That hasn't changed from the last set of order forms. You can also do aluminum push to lock with the extensions and pull to locks as well, and justification for the extensions. I will just throw in a quick caveat here. So our Newton wheel locks right now, the push to locks, they work. They're pretty effective. They're really good wheel locks. The challenge we run into is clients that are really heavy users, I'll say abusers of equipment, or clients that use the wheel locks like they push up on them to transfer out of the chair. Our Newton wheel locks aren't designed to weight bear like that. So if you know that your clients are breaking wheel locks because they're using them in maybe atypical situations, we strongly recommend that you look at the aluminum push to lock wheel locks, because they don't have the ability to break maybe as easily as the Newton wheel locks do. Like I said, it's really only in certain scenarios where the wheel locks are being used for scenarios where they're not supposed to be technically used. So if you know that that's the case, maybe look at aluminum ones if you know the client is going to be prone to breaking those.
How much more are those? I can ask you later.
Aluminum ones?
Then, yeah, I can ask later.
73 retail, but I can look.
Yeah.
I can look what your cost is on those. The pull to locks, I think someone just asked, the pull to locks are in aluminum. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the pull locks are a standard. That they should actually label that in there just so that you guys know. Then we have grade A wheel locks. So if they're going, that's what these ones are here. If they're going up hills, it just allows you, when engaged, when you're going up the wheel, that just prevents you from going backwards. So it'll allow you to go forwards, but it won't allow the chair to go backwards. And then usually we recommend going with pneumatic tires on that one, because it's just the way that it grips the tire. It's a lot easier to get a better grip than it is on a urethane tire. Scissor locks, attendant locks, those are all OTP options on there, but they are available on all of our chairs.
I think scissor locks we've made justification on the apex only.
Yes, that's a good point. Armrests. Is pull to lock no charge or OTP? So pull to lock is a no charge.
I think on the move, you might see a little bit of a typo. We're going to correct that. It says OTP on the move, but it should all be no charge for pull to lock or push to lock.
Yeah, we've got about 5 or 6 revision things.
This is great. We're reviewing this together.
Exactly. So it'll allow us to fix a lot of those things.
Yep.
Armrests. So each chair is going to have its own armrest options, but in general, they're going to look like this. You're going to have your flip back option. You're going to have a T style option. A caveat there is that the flip back option actually is convertible to a T armrest. So what I'm talking about there is when we look at the T style on the right here, it's the same armrest, so they look the exact same. The only difference between a flip back and a T style is going to be that the flip back has this little extra arm piece here that connects into the armrest so that you can flip it back instead of it just being a standard T here. So that's what we see. That's what we're saying when we're saying it's convertible, is that, you know, if they start off wanting it as a flip back, but eventually only need it as a T, you can do that, or you can add a kit to it where you can add a flip back arm to a T style to convert it back to a standard flip back. Both are available in your desk length and your full length arm pads. So that's pretty standard. And then you choose your height options here. So 8 to 12 height measured from the bottom of the seat, or sorry, the top of the seat to the top of the armrest pad. Or you can do 10 to 14. And then locked or unlocked really just specifies only with the flip backs. Do you want it so that this piece here is locked into here, meaning that you can't remove it without actually taking a pen? It's going to be hard for you to see, but there's this little red dot here. When it's in the locked position, you actually have to use a pen and push down on that. It's spring loaded, and it'll allow you to remove the wheel, or allow you to remove the armrest. If you choose unlocked, it'll just unlock, and you can pull it out pretty easily. It takes a little bit of force, but the lock position will be like, it's not going to remove unless you use that spring loaded little red tab there. And a pen usually works best to push down on it or depress it. Swing away tubular arms. These are all justification options, so that's what we're looking at here. So this is going to be your standard tubular swing away armrest on the left here, where the foam wraps around the tube, versus with flat arm pad, this option here, your desk and full length arm pad is going to be a tubular, but with your standard arm pad on there. Okay.
I think that's just available on the apex, the tubular arms.
Exactly. And then the kids' chair is going to have the locking flip up armrests that you see here.
Right.
And then last but not least is positioning belts. So on there, you're going to see that everything is OTP with the exception of your auto buckle. So you're just selecting 35-inch or 60-inch. So and just so you know, understand how that measurement works, that measurement is if you take the belt off the chair completely and you put it in its longest position from one end of the belt to the other end of the belt, that's how we measure that 60 inches. So if you know that they're pretty tight at 35 and it's not quite there, and you've measured, you measured them out and they're measuring somewhere around, 32, 33, somewhere around there, it's generally recommended to bump up to the 60, because you got to factor in the fact that that belt has to mount somewhere on the chair, and the further back it mounts, maybe on the back canes or lower on the chair, that eats up some of your length. So just keep that in mind when you're selecting your overall length here.
So that's the no charge option when you're doing your transit tie down selection. So you're going to choose AC 35 without the belts, and then you're going to choose this auto buckle as an option, as a no charge as well. So that's going to be your new configuration. Those still stay OTP on the current form online for the belts. Yes, on the move, it says OTP, but the A6 says no charge. So we're going to change the moves to all be no charge for the auto buckle.
I love this. I love that people are actually following along.
I
and
know
they-
you guys are actually like looking through the forms.
This is great.
These
And
are
Kent is all-
OTs. They
Yeah.
know what they're doing. Okay, perfect. Thanks,
Gee,
Brandon,
yeah.
for helping me put that together. I don't know, is there any questions on the accessories, the differences between the no charge, justification, or OTP items? I did say we'll have a question period after, so some people are shy. They might not want to be recorded. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now, if that's okay, because I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. Sorry. Wait, I have to open up mine. Just 1 second. Okay, we have about 20 minutes. I think what I'm going to do is going to be pretty quick for everybody. Okay, here we go. Okay, everybody's seeing my screen now. Okay. Okay. Are you seeing the trial and assessment form here?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so just a really quick, we are making sure that people are aware that there are trial equipment available for the Move, the A6. We have some Apex and we have a couple of C2 kids, and there are the Apex kids that are now available. So this is just a review. Some people know that this is the trial equipment and clinic space request form that gets sent out to us, and then my rehab assistant, Jess, will help set up your chairs for you. Again, in the facility here, we have availability to use the clinic space. We can send the chairs out to the facilities, so the hospitals, and then with Canada Post, we can send out to the rural areas some of the chairs that you're looking for. So if you are looking for a specific type of chair, you can always email me and Jess to make sure that we have something, because sometimes we have the availability to go into the warehouse and pull out a chair. They don't love me for doing that, but that is something that we can help with facilitating a trial. Definitely, if you're kind of iffy with the Move versus the A6, we've made the Move really simple, really small choices that you're going to offer. And then as soon as you're finding that you need more custom or more ranges, then you're going to be looking at the A6. And if you had a trial and you compared Move versus A6, you're going to have a lot of justification for me to say that, yes, we've trialed it, and I can't really argue with you. I'll be like, oh, awesome. OTP request form. So just a review of this. This is a specific form on the website because now we've figured out a way with Brandon's team to be able to provide a quote separate from what the WHA or Manitoba Health would pay. So then clients can go through us. The couple of things to tell clients, it's just a review here, it's all on the form, is that the cost for maintenance of these OTP parts are now on the client's dime, or if they have to get it funded, it's not part of the repair process for our chairs. Clients also have to get the funding ahead of time or pay for it ahead of time so that I can be able to order those parts on the chair and then get a little bit of a better discount with the company. So that's just the form. If you have any questions about that, I definitely am the person that's getting those quotes for you. So it's an extra step that I do. So I try to make it a little bit easier, but clients can also go to their local vendor. So we would order the chair without those OTP parts, and they could just go to any vendor to order like a different type of wheel or tire or rim, those kind of things. They can add those on down the road. So it just depends on what works best for you and your clients. So that's just kind of really to just close that off. Any questions about the process? Okay, so for the next, So a couple of questions. Are you from Chandra? Are you finding DHSU will approve OTP items with justification? You know, they're a hit and miss. You have to really say that this is what's the basic and essential. I'll go to bat for you if it's an EIA chair. I will try to make sure that we get the best price, and I do talk to the assessment officers as well. So if you don't ask, they won't fund. So I would encourage people, especially if you have tried it and it's the best thing that's ever worked for your client, put that on your assessment that this is what we've trialed and the client's been more independent, more functioning, all those things. Sarah says if changes happen to the loan chair, therapist or client are supposed to get approval first. I'm not sure what that means, Sarah. Maybe I'm just not reading it right. Changes happen to the loan chair therapist. Okay, Sarah, if you can wait, we can talk about that after. I just wanted to, do you need to know if they change out wheels? No, if oh, I see what you're saying. So if the client gets an OTP item and they provide it, it'd be nice to know that they change out their tires or their wheels. They can return it to us. That would be helpful. But we do write it down on the database that the client had upgraded stuff. So we know that we're not repairing that. It would be something else, somebody else or a vendor would have to pay for those changes. Okay. I'm just going to introduce you to something coming up. And this is just because we are in a contract for what the chairs used to be was the Breezy 2000, 4000 and 2000s and the power chairs. So that's an RFP that's in process. We're also introducing some name changes in this coming up year. So I can't do any formal rollout until we actually have the chairs in place, and but it is coming. So I just wanted to give you a heads up, and this is just the first introduction. We'll have more rollouts, but I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware that we will be coming out with name changes. So first thing you're going to find, we're going to keep the categories 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the numbers now are going to refer to your usage profile, your client usage profile. So 1 is still going to be your occasional user, so less than 2 hours a day. Category 2 is going to be your part-time user, so we're calling that about a 4 to 6-ish hours per day, as long as the client can transfer out of the wheelchair and into a vehicle seat. Those are still the chairs you're going to be looking at. Category 3 are going to be for your dependent sitters. Sorry, that kind of messed up on my slide here. Your dependent sitter, so that's your tilt chair. Category 4 now, this is a big change, are all your full-time users. So anything over 6 hours a day, you're thinking category 4. Big change, I know. Bear with me. And then category 5 are all your power chair users. So categories remain the same. We're now introducing what's called a type or different features. So category 1 and 2, there's no different types. Category 3, you're going to have 2 types. You have type 1, which is just your manual tilt. Type 2 is going to have tilt and recline. When you go to category 4, we're going to have 2 types. So it's your full-time lightweight standard chair. So that's going to be your move. And then type 2 is going to be your ultra lightweight, very customizable, high performing type of chair. So that's going to be what we know as the A6, the Apex C2 kits. And then category 5 has 2 types. So this is your standard power chair, type 1. And then type 2 is going to be your power chair with all your power actuators. So somebody that needs power tilt, recline, etc. So those are the introductions to the types of chairs. And then the other thing that we're introducing are models. So models indicate the weight, really. So in category 1, you're going to have a 1A, which is a standard adult chair. A is always going to be a standard adult. B is going to be now your heavy duty chair. C will always be your child's or pediatric type of chair. And D we're introducing is the bariatric chair. So under each category, you might have different types and you're going to have 4 models. Okay, so for example, when I say I'm going to have a category 3 type 1A, that means you're having a dependent sitter with a manual tilt wheelchair and the standard adult frame. So going forward, and I'm thinking this is going to start in the fall, your category 4 type 1 is going to be your full-time user with a basic options, mainly an indoor user. You're going to have a model A, which is our move standard adults. It used to be 2C, but it'll be model A. Model B will now be your move HD heavy duty. Model C, we still have the Sunrise Zippy GS for the children's pediatrics. And Model D is going to be your Quickie M6 bariatric chair. So the big thing for the category 4 to get this chair is that also they have tie downs, transit tie downs on them. Same eligibility criteria that you're used to for your 2C, but now they're going to be category 4 type 1. So this is new information for everyone, but we're going to slowly roll it out. I just wanted to introduce this to everybody today. And then going to the next category 4, full-time user, you're going to go type 2. So this is somebody that has multiple environments. They need more customized options to promote full independence and community mobility. So we have 2 different configurations for this, which are your rigid chairs and your folding chairs. So far, as you know, the Model A folding chair for the category 4 type 2 is your Helio A6 for a standard adult. Then you have the Helio A6, your Model B for heavy duty. Model C for kids folding is the Helio C2 Kids. Model D folding chair for a bariatric, we actually don't have anything on our contract. So it could be, you know, if you've eliminated the M6 as your option, you might be able to look for an off-contract chair. So that's where we would discuss whether you would be okay with an M6 or if we have to look for a bariatric type of chair for you. So in the rigid configuration, we still have the Model A rigid chair, which is your Apex aluminum standard adults. Model B, which is your heavy duty, we actually don't have anything on contract. Again, this might be something to rule out the A6 HD or to see if you could bring in something as an off contract. So that's something you would discuss with me on a case by case. And Model C rigid chair, we now have the Apex Kids. So that's new, and we're working with our children's therapists over at RCC to kind of tweak that out a little bit. And then again, Model D rigid chair. In this category, type 2, we don't have anything on contract. So that's kind of just, don't get crazy about it. It's going to come together, and we're going to keep talking about it as we go, but I wanted to make sure everybody's aware that these are coming soon. Okay, I'm just going to turn off the recording so that if people can feel more free. I know we have about 5 minutes, so let me just stop recording.